The woman joining us today is a surprisingly calm, gentle person for someone whose life has, for so many years, been in danger. Sharon Titian, originally from Strabane near Dundas, Ontario, was called by God to expose cultural slavery in the African nation of Ghana. We asked her to return. Before returning, really, Sharon, you're going back to Ghana.
Yes.
I initially thought you were on furlough. You're not really on furlough. You're working here.
Yes, that's right. I usually come home every year to raise funds and also to, as the Lord leads, recruit people to come to experience Africa and the work that I'm involved with.
Ghana is a wonderful nation. I think we heard last time we talked with you about 70% Christian.
Yes.
And so this pocket of evil that God asked you to expose, I think is a surprise to most people.
That's right. A lot of people were not aware that it was going on, and it was sort of hidden. It's in a rural area, and it's not a place that people would go. You know, it's not a place that people would want to go to visit or anything, so it was hidden.
And that's intentional.
Yes.
Because the fetish priests around whom this evil practice and shrine worship is centered don't want people interfering with them.
No, they don't.
Now, what is a fetish priest?
Well, a fetish priest would be like a judge. He's the head of the shrine. The shrines are in, like, each clan would have a shrine of their own, so that would be like a system before they had any type of police or government. It was used as a means of social control. And at one time, I believe it was a good thing.
The priests ruled.
Yes, they were like the judge. So people would bring cases to them and they would judge it. And I believe it somewhere along the line, they went off.
And how did this become distorted? What did you see that caused you distress?
These young girls that were sent to atone for crimes committed in the family were supposed to be taken care of by their families, not by the priest. But they were sent to these shrines and left. The parents wouldn't bring them food, so they were suffering. Most of them were starving. They didn't have any medical attention, and of course malaria is always prevalent.
Now, the bizarre part about this, we can't gloss over, that, you know, if someone became ill or someone died in your family, you would assume it's because sins of previous generations, sometimes back to the 1700s, were not atoned for. And so you would take your daughter, your sister, whatever, young girls, they had to be virgins,
yes,
to this community, this hamlet, this fetish priest community, to do time.
Yes.
In servitude and
Yes.
sexual service.
Yes.
But the sin is never atoned for.
It just continues to go on.
Perpetuates.
Yes. Yes, there's no end to it.
And when one young girl, after however many years, is allowed to leave, a sister would take her place.
Someone in the family.
Somebody. This is like, I mean, I've never heard of anything like this.
There's no forgiveness. There's no forgiveness. It just continues.
And we're not talking about a small thing. The video that I saw interviewed many of these fetish priests.
Yes.
How many are there today?
In the area where I am, there are no shrines left. They've all died as a result of this system being brought down by the Lord. There are shrines in other areas, but they don't practice the same thing as these. You know, the girls are not suffering like these girls were suffering. They were really prisoners. And
they called them inmates.
Yes, they called them inmates for there wasn't a better word for them to use. They used this word inmates because they were serving a sentence.
How did you become acquainted with this, and how did you know that you had to go, one woman, to this country and try and bring down this demonic stronghold?
Well, I was led by the Lord step by step. I didn't know I was going to Ghana for that specifically. The Lord led me there to help start up a ministry where we were teaching literacy classes so that we could have the local people read their Bible. And through that, we were asked by a government official to help with this problem they had in these shrines. And he took me there and showed me the shrines and the girls. And through that I knew, because I had received a prophecy before I went to Ghana, that God was going to use me to take the axe to the root of a system that had been there for many, 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 many centuries.
Did you actually have a vision of a tree, Sharon?
No, taking the axe to the root is an expression used by intercessors. So I knew it was some sort of stronghold, but I didn't know anything about what it was God was bringing me for. The prophecy was very specific, and it gave me detail of what I would encounter. And one of the things was I would wonder why people wouldn't rally around me to help. But it was because the people are terrified, and they knew if I was connected to that work, if they agreed with me in any way, that they could also be victims and die.
You know, in our culture, that may sound very spooky and very unrealistic. Witchcraft does exist here. It's masked by our culture. But in Africa, they see demons. They know that people can end up dead. And in fact, one pastor who finally stepped up and courageously said, "We are going to support you," paid the ultimate price.
Yes.
How soon after was he dead?
I met him in September. In October, there was a very big meeting at the district assembly with the fetish priests, the shrine owners, all the people that were involved with the shrines came to this meeting. The government was going to ask them to release the girls for the literacy program.
They would still have to go back at night?
Yes, they were asking them to allow us to go into the shrine and start the literacy classes.
Oh, okay.
So this particular pastor opened the meeting with prayer, and they became furious, started screaming that they didn't want anybody from the church involved. They didn't want any pastors, and they're very, very angry. So that was in, I think, October, and by December he was dead. And he was targeted.
So you didn't have the kind of support that, I mean, to go at this at all was putting your life at risk. And I remember one of the girls on the Full Circle couch asking, how did you arm yourself? How did you go into this spiritual war zone and endure there and ultimately prevail, as we will see? What were the weapons of your warfare, Sharon?
The year before I went to Africa, I went to Israel, and I went with an intercessory prayer ministry, and I was taught by these people how to do the spiritual warfare.
Now, intercession is just praying for others, but when you say intercessors, you mean those who really know how to pray.
Yes, and to stand in the gap. I had to stand in the gap for those girls. In other words, the spirit of death that would be coming to them, I would be there to stop it. So it was, the Lord had prepared me to stand in a hard place. And it was by going through very, very hard things.
Your life was threatened here in Canada by an angry husband. And we told that story before. You'd faced death.
Yes.
And decided to trust God as your protector.
Yes.
So you developed that spiritual muscle.
Yes, you have to overcome here before you can be sent out. And I had to face many things. And I said earlier that I had to overcome the fear of man and the fear of death. And it was going through many, many experiences here that I was able to come to the place where when I went to Africa, I wasn't afraid. And I had specific like teachers and maybe books. I wanted to mention.
You brought some of them with you.
Reese Howell, the Intercessor, is a wonderful teaching tool when you're brought into a place like where there's this type of a very stronghold that had to come down. It was the Lord teaching me through different tools. And
now, this book was first published in '52. It's such a classic. It has been reprinted. Reese Howell's Intercessor. You also have, I'm sure many people have heard Corrie ten Boom's story. This is one of her books, Tramp for the Lord. What
Corrie walked by faith, and she trusted God for everything. And I had to be able to walk by faith because I was alone. And trust God for everything, miracles, like after miracles, after miracles. The Lord had to go before me and make the way because I couldn't do it, and always provided for me, and I was alone, so the Lord was my best friend.
And you have another unidentifiable devotional book.
Yes.
Now talk about weapons of your warfare.
Yes.
This one's been to war.
Yes, this is Streams in the Desert, and it's by Mrs. Charles Kalman. She was a missionary to China. And there's many, many scriptures in here that were specifically for me. They were timely. They spoke to me directly, and it encouraged me. And the Lord put that in my hand when I first became a Christian.
Now, did you experience the effects of the curses and the black magic coming at you? And how did you deal with this evil in the heavenlies?